and call this meeting to order. Chris, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Bruce.
Present.
Councilmember Biggs.
Here.
Council President McPherson.
Here.
Mayor Steer.
Here. And if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item is a consent agenda. Is there any questions or comments or anything you want pulled for discussion?
Not anymore. I had my question answered earlier.
Good. I would move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Chris, would you poll the council, please?
Councilmember Bruce.
Aye.
Councilmember Biggs.
Aye.
Council President McPherson.
Aye.
And that motion carries. We're going to start out tonight with employee appreciation. I'm going to start with Carol Merritt. She's retiring. Carol's been working in the utility billing department as an accounting specialist. She's dedicated over 24 years of her life to public service, first in Alaska with the city of Cordova for about 20 years, and then we were lucky enough to have her here for a little over 4 years. Carol was a great addition to our team, bringing her vast amount of knowledge and experience. She's been a pleasure to work with, and we wish her all the best in her retirement. Carol's one of those that her smile made everybody's day, so she's certainly going to be missed. And I enjoy this one because we get to watch Bobby all turn red. Bobby Withrow has been with us now for 20 years.
Wow.
He's dedicated 20 years of his life to serving the city of Kuna and its community. His unwavering commitment and exceptional service have been a tremendous asset to the city, and we are fortunate to have him on our team. We're never going to let Bobby retire. Bobby's dedication and hard work have not gone unnoticed, and his positive attitude has been infectious to those around him. Throughout his tenure, Bobby has demonstrated a deep understanding of the city's needs and has worked tirelessly to ensure that those needs are met. His passion for public service, combined with his extensive knowledge and experience, have made him invaluable as an asset to the city of Kuna. His contributions have been instrumental in shaping our community and ensuring its continued success. We're grateful for Bobby's contributions and look forward to many more years of his dedicated service. Congratulations, Bobby, on this remarkable milestone.
Thank you, Bobby.
That'll teach you to tell me things like that.
All right, that takes us right to public hearings. Item A is consideration to approve case numbers 21-13-AN, annexation, and 21-09-S, preliminary plat. The applicant requests annexation approval for approximately 76.02 acres and to zone the property R6, R12, and C2, and requests preliminary plat approval in order to subdivide the site into 16 commercial lots, 132 single-family lots, 9 multifamily lots, and 22 common lots. This site is located at the southwest corner of Meridian and Hubbard Roads. I think this one, I believe this is the one that has been on social media, and council and I it's the law that we can't look at these or have any conversations about these prior to a public hearing. So the first council where I get to hear about these is when our packets come out on Fridays. And someone had actually tagged me into that post, and when I saw what it was, I tried to do a real quick answer. It was basically, I think it said something about asking if council could deny this project, and all I said was that council is not required to do annexations. And then I got out of the post and didn't look at it anymore. So I just wanted to declare that. Those are ex parte communications that we have to make part of the record here tonight at the public hearing. And so is there anybody else that needs to declare any?
I did comment on that as well, about process on the same post.
Okay. And I'm not certain that it was even about this one. I'm assuming it is, but anyway, I just wanted to make those declarations clear before we got started. Troy, you may have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Troy B. Hunan, Senior Planner, 751 West 4th Street here in CUNA, Planning and Zoning Department. So the applications before you this evening request annexation approval in order to bring and to have joined the city of CUNA city limits approximately 76.20 acres into the city and zone the property in specific parts. Medium density R6, high density R12, and commercial C2. The applicant is also requesting preliminary plat approval in order to divide this 72.02 acres into 348 total residential units, 21 common lots, and approximately 16 commercial lots. Public Works in Exhibit 2.23B states that Public Works can support the Lee Country subdivision development since the 18-inch Danskin sewer force main construction has recently been completed. If approved, a QLPE, which is Qualified Licensed Professional Engineer, or a will serve letter, that's kind of the going term, it can support up to 40 EDUs or connections for the Lee Country subdivision following Resolution R90-2022. The Planning and Zoning staff agrees with Public Works assessment. Staff has reviewed the proposed annexation and the preliminary plat for compliance with CUNA City Code, CUNA City Comprehensive Plan, the CUNA Comprehensive Plan Map, and finds that it does follow each of them. It also follows Idaho State Statutes 50-222, 6765, the Local Land Use Planning Act, and if the council does approve the annexation and the preliminary plat, staff recommends that the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions of approval that are outlined in council's memo in the packet. There is a presentation by the applicant which has been attached to the PDF, and the applicant is also here tonight to make that presentation. And I'll be standing by or sitting by, whichever you want to say, if you have any questions, and I'm available.
Okay, questions for Troy?
Not at this
None
moment.
yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Okay. Would the applicant like to present?
What's the best way for me to, you can just scroll through. Okay. This needs to be green. Perfect.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Patrick Connor. Address is 701 South Allen Street in Meridian. I am very excited to stand in front of you all tonight. We'd we've actually been working on this project since summer of 2020, actually. And actually about 3 years ago in October is kind of the first time we sat down with Doug, his team, Lisa Holland at the time, and Paul with Sewer, and talking about this particular site, which is on a very busy intersection, very visible intersection, and want to talk with the city about kind of what their thoughts and best land use practice would be for this particular site. And I'm excited to present to you all Lee Country. So as Troy said, it's about 76 acres, R6, R12, and C2 zone, all about evenly split, a third for each of those zones. We're proposing 132 single-family lots, 16 commercial lots, 19 common lots, 9 apartment lots there, and then almost 5 acres of open space. The vicinity map, it is on the southwest corner of Hubbard and Ardell, and here's some commercial things around us as well as schools. A little bit closer in the site, there is an improved preliminary plat of Ledgestow Plaza across the street that has similar zoning to our project, and also a planned project by CBH on the north side of Hubbard. Future land use map shows business, commercial along the highway corridor there, and then mixed use, as you see in pink. So that was kind of whenever we first started talking to the city about how do we blend single family, multifamily, commercial, kind of ended up in the land use plan that we have today. The current zoning, it is in the county. And then this is what we were proposing this evening with C2, R12, and R6. This is the site plan kind of turned, rotated 90 degrees to the left, but the blue is the single family, the red is the multifamily, and then the yellow is the commercial. The way that we kind of visualize the site would be closer to the intersection, would be kind of your more retail restaurant use, and then on the southern side of that yellow C2 would be more kind of like an office or more kind of flexible space there to be determined. Also, in addition, any sort of multifamily or commercial site will have to go through the design review process with the city. So we are residential developers, and so we would develop the whole site, but we would only build on the single family portion of it. The rest of the site we would develop into lots, but then we would not actually build the structures or anything like that. That would be a separate builder, a separate application for the design review. This kind of shows more of the preliminary plat. Again, it's 132 single-family lots. You can see the commercial and the multifamily there. And actually, so the open space is almost 5 acres. About 3.5 of that open space is in the single-family area, which represents about 22% of the single-family portion of the site. Shows kind of how those single-family lots are split up. So the kind of orange ones are the smaller 40-foot lots as a transition to the commercial. The blue are the 50-foot wide lots, which are the same size as Greyhawk, which is to our west, which we developed about a decade ago, and Greyhawk West on the west side of that. And then the purple, they're larger 60-foot lots that would give us opportunities for third-car garages. Here's a showing of some of our elevations of the 40-foot, 50-foot wide, and then the larger 60-foot wide lots there. And then this is, again, just draft elevations. Again, we are not going to be the builders for the multifamily, but this is what we kind of envision and propose in that higher density multifamily area. Amenities, we are proposing a playground and pavilion on the single-family side. On the multifamily side, we would have a pool and a clubhouse, and that could be written into this development agreement, ensuring that they have their own dedicated amenities there. There's also a green buffer between the single-family and the commercial, as well as a wall there between the two land uses. This is kind of our pathway system outside of what is directly adjacent to the street, so it's a separated pathway system there. And there are, well, we'll get into that. So here's a shot of the amenities. Again, pavilion, playground, park space, and then the apartment and clubhouse, the pool house for the apartment complex. Potential businesses, this is actually a very sought after corner. We've had a lot of interest of folks over the years that we've been kind of walking this through this entitlement process. Big box retailers, potential there, office users, potential there. I know economic development department, there's folks that are interested in having office space here or having offices in CUNA. And now that CUNA has a lot of rooftops and a lot of people living here, there is more interest in kind of a more mature kind of commercial use there, as well as activity centers or daycares, facilities. It's just some of the examples of what some of this space could be used for. Obviously, there's a lot of commercial benefits in a growing and maturing city. So I think this is a quote from the mayor at one point, but saying that CUNA needs a stronger commercial tax base in order to take some of the property tax burden off of the people that live in CUNA. About 90% of CUNA's property tax base comes from residential property as opposed to non-residential like commercial. Just as a comparison, Boise and Meridian are about 67% residential, and the latter being commercial. So 90% is a very high kind of burden that the property owners of CUNA are bearing. So as cities grow and as they change and mature, more commercial property becomes more viable here. More folks look to locate businesses here, and it's a direct benefit of services to the community. Less time on the road driving to other cities, more tax dollars staying in town, opportunities for employment, fostering local small businesses. It's just better overall for your economic health, as well as keeping cars off the road, leaving town, and keeping those cars here and keeping the folks here. And then more job opportunities potentially for office complexes there and retail and commercial opportunities. This is just a snapshot of commercial property tax revenue for every $1 million of commercial valuation. And then just want to touch on one item of school support. I've had a few meetings with members of the school district and their consultants and talking about kind of how we are prepared to support the school district. We're obviously in strong support of the bonds. We send out mailers and flyers to our communities as bonds come up, putting signage on our properties, asking them to vote yes. As you know, CUNA schools are in kind of a crisis of facilities and lack of facilities. Just kind of talking about it, I know that there's been a lot of chatter about this voluntary fee of impact fee of giving schools a voluntary fee, and we kind of ran up the chain of our new ownership and our new kind of legal counsel, and they are not on board with some sort of voluntary fee. In fact, they likened it as a potential bribe situation or kind of an extortionary situation. So the idea that we're going to be paying money or committing to pay money directly to a school district in exchange for their voice of support at this podium tonight, they did not feel comfortable doing. And so again, there are corporate governance laws and accountants laws that we need to be following, and that's not something that they are going to be, that we are generally going to support tonight. There's other ways that we'd like to support, as I said, through getting out the word for the bond election, as well as working with the school district and finding property and finding pieces of land. There's other properties that we've worked with them on as far as doing utility infrastructure improvements that will extend to their sites. I know that the school district is looking particularly for a site on the southwest portion of town. I've talked to Principal Robbie Reno about that, and as we're looking at that side of town, we can work together and be partners on that level. But when it comes, just for full disclosure, when it comes to paying a fee, we're not on board with that sort of action. The transportation investment, there are quite a few areas that we are going to be contributing our proportional share to. One thing I want to make clear is that I completely understand that this will affect the current traffic flow in the city of CUNA, but I also believe the ACHD staff report, which took about 9 months for us to get out of ACHD, has a lot of thought and a lot of effort into how we're going to address certain traffic issues. So those are listed here. Just real quick, the A route, for a while there was concern about our traffic cutting through the existing Greyhawk subdivision. We have a connection point to Hubbard within our subdivision as opposed to having a cul-de-sac there. So that'll take some relief on folks cutting through that area. Along Hubbard Lane up until Meridian Road, we will be doing some widening on that street, as well as we are conditioned to have 2 left turn lanes. So driving west down Hubbard, taking a left on Meridian, turning north, there would be a requirement for 2 left turn lanes there. at the point that the commercial would come online, and that's a condition of approval in the ACHD staff report. And then Ardell on the south, ITD has said that in the future, Ardell will most likely be a right-in, right-out intersection. We will be doing some widening along Ardell up until that point. But again, that's something that ITD and ACHD are going to be working through in the future. Right now, it's still a full access intersection, but in the future, it will change. Also, for intersection improvement, the Hubbard and Linder intersection, per the ACHD staff report, will need to be improved to a 3x3 signal or a roundabout in the future. This is also a condition, as you all may remember, for our project Sabino's Rocky Ridge, and also kind of the same sort of parameters as far as the number of peak trips during the afternoon. Kind of just finish a couple more thoughts, if that's okay. Can I get a couple more minutes? Just 2 more minutes, if I can. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions at this point, or just wait for
Any questions
rebuttal?
for the applicant?
Not at this point, no, sir,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who's going to want to testify in this matter, didn't get a chance to sign in? In there? Okay, well, let me just go down this list here and then I'll just throw something at me if I forget about it, okay? All right. Testimony is limited to 3 minutes, but I usually don't hold tight to that because I want to hear what the public has to say, so just kind of stay close to that as you can. Kristen Sandu. If you would, just state your name and address for the record.
Members of council, mayor, and fellow community members. For the record, my name is Kristen Sandu, 3070 North Saratoga Way, Cuna. I'm here today to strongly voice my opposition to the approval of the Lee Country subdivision. With a limited speaking time, I'll be concise, but I hope this point shed light on why we should deny, or at the very least, reevaluate the Lee Country subdivision. We've repeatedly raised the same concerns. Our schools are overcrowded, our sewage system is at capacity, and our community infrastructure simply can't handle more growth. During the previous council meeting, Mayor, you mentioned the need for someone to step up and take action. Today, I'm that person. I stand here not as an individual, but as a representative of many who share these concerns. Together, we advocate for the future of our community. It is my strong belief that this decision should be grounded in facts, not emotions. Allow me to present the following factual points concerning this project. While reviewing the documents submitted for consideration, I noticed that the Cuna Rural Fire District issued their support for the proposed subdivision on 12/28/2021. Since then, our city has experienced significant population growth. Therefore, it's crucial to conduct a fresh evaluation, considering the changes our community has undergone since 2021. Additionally, apart from the population growth, both the ACHD and ITD have recommended infrastructure changes from the developer. I have engaged in discussion with the Cuna Rural Fire District and have submitted a copy of a development proposal to them. In the course of our conversation, I was informed that any modification made subsequent to their initial approval will necessitate resubmission to the fire district for new review and new approval. Upon reviewing the ACHD report, it is clear that ACHD consistently emphasizes throughout the document that the project exceeds the acceptable threshold set by the ACHD for the 2030 conditions. Additionally, ACHD specifies that it is imperative for the applicant to widen and improve Hubbard Road before any approval is granted. I know that the gentleman before me showed some improvements. However, in the ACHD package, the applicant has failed to submit a proposal to the ACHD detailing the required improvements on Hubbard Road. The impact study found that this development is estimated to generate 15,391 additional vehicles per day. It is important to note that the average daily traffic counts are based on the ACHD's most current traffic counts at the time of the study, being January 7, 2021 and January 12, 2021. The ACHD and neighboring communities have raised concerns about the cut-through traffic. It's worth noting that the northern residential portion of the site will not have direct access to Hubbard Road. I know that the gentleman before me emphasized on that. Without this direct access, traffic will need to use local roads, such as Desi Street through Williams Avenue, to enter and exit the development. The ACHD recommends that traffic should not exceed 2,000 daily trips on local road by district policy, and the study estimated that the total
You can go ahead and finish your thoughts.
and the study estimated that the total will be 1,215 daily trips, less than the 2,000 daily trips recommended. However, I'd like to emphasize that this study was conducted in 2021, and we are now approaching the end of 2023. Much has changed since then. Cut-through traffic is not only disturbing, but also dangerous. And ACHD has repeatedly mentioned in their document that certain infrastructure and traffic measures, such as signals or roundabouts, would be required sooner due to the rapid development happening in our area, which indicates that their estimate of the 1,215 daily trips might not be that accurate. I also came across information on the ACHD package that raises concern about the potential mixing of commercial and residential traffic within the development. This brings me to my next point, which is of great significance. We must take into account the nature of the commercial businesses that will incorporate into this plaza. In the development proposal, there was an image featuring an In-N-Out food establishment. Please note that I'm not making any claims about In-N-Out coming to CUNA, but it serves as an illustrative example. It is imperative that we consider the implication of hosting a widely popular fast food chain like In-N-Out. While such an establishment could potentially boost tax revenue, it also carries the risk of placing an overwhelming burden on our infrastructure, given its immense popularity. If a chain of this caliber were to establish a presence in CUNA, we could anticipate a surge in traffic from all corners of the valley. This influx would undoubtedly have a substantial impact on our community and could significantly disrupt the findings of the impact study. In regards to public works, it's worth noting that the Public Works Department has shown its support for the approval of this application, citing the completion of the necessary 18-inch dense sewer force main. However, it's important to consider that sewer access operates on a first-come, first-served basis. Given that we've already approved other projects, it raises a valid question. Why does this particular subdivision stand in queue for sewer access? Title 6, Chapter 2, 623, D17. The requirement for preliminary plats should specify the inclusion of up-to-date hydro and soil reports with a maximum age of 12 months from the submission date. It is essential that these reports are visibly incorporated into the preliminary plat or submitted separately as a part of a package. In the event that these reports are available to the public, it would be beneficial to provide access to this critical information if it exists. This information should be at the core of our decision-making process, safeguarding the paramount interest of our community. It is our duty to ensure that the choices we make today reflect our commitment to the well-being and sustainable growth of our own town. By taking this updated facts and emerging concerns into account, we can make informed decisions that align with the best interest of our residents. As we move forward in the discussion regarding the Lee Country subdivision, let us remember that the choices we make today will have a lasting impact on our community. Responsible development is not only a matter of ensuring that our infrastructure can handle growth, but also of maintaining the quality of life that our residents cherish. We owe it to our citizens to prioritize their safety, comfort, and prosperity. I thank you for your attention and consideration of these crucial factors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Kristen? Okay. Let's just take a real quick pause. I want to get a couple more seats in here for people that are standing out there. Oh, would you take that back and have her sign in?
Yep.
Yeah, you can have it. I looked at it last week.
Jenny Turnbull.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. If I'd known we were going to have possibly more than 3 minutes, I probably would have had a little longer presentation. But
Okay.
given that, I'm bringing forward something that I think is very important regarding the actual processing of the subdivision
And
application.
if you would just state your name and
Oh,
address. for
sorry,
the-
Jenny
You're fine.
Turnbull. I live, address also, 2552 North Hose Gulch Avenue, Cuna.
Thank
And I apologize for my voice. Hopefully, I'm understandable.
We won't hold that time against you.
Thank you. So on page 8 of staff's report, section 7, proposed finding of fact 7.1, reads as follows. Have the public notice requirements been met and the neighborhood meeting was conducted within the guidelines of applicable Idaho code and city ordinances? Staff's response reads that the applicant held a neighborhood meeting September 9th, 2021. 12 attendees attended the meeting in accordance with Idaho Code and CUNA City Code. What concerns me is that in CUNA City Code, Chapter 5, Section 1A-2, subsection B5, states that the neighborhood meeting shall not be conducted more than 2 months prior to the acceptance of the application. Subsection D states a public hearing, if required, shall be held no later than 60 days after the date of application acceptance. City Code Chapter 5, Section 1-6-1, subsection C states that the word shall is a mandatory requirement. It is not a guideline. In summary, City Code Section 5-1A-2 requires an application for subdivision to be conducted in a timely manner that is consistent with Idaho statutes, Title 67, Chapter 65. And it allows no more than 4 months to transpire from neighborhood meeting to first public hearing. The neighborhood meeting to review this project was again held on September 9th, 2021. People who currently live in the neighboring subdivision, a number of them were not present within the subdivision at that time and have not had an opportunity to work with the developer on their concerns. The first public hearing for the proposed project was held on June 23rd, 2023, just shy of 2 years later. Based on this, it appears the application is not in compliance with CUNA City Code Chapter 5, and that finding of fact 7.1 cannot be made, which would mean the application should not be considered further until the identified noncompliance has been remedied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Renee Houston? Renee Houston. I probably said it wrong.
I don't know why I put my maiden name. Renee Houston, 2208 North Hose Gulch Avenue, Cuna. Unlike the two people before me who had lots of code and statute ready to present, I do not. I am just speaking from the heart and the fact that I moved to Cuna with the goal of raising my family here and keeping the small town vibes. I don't feel that that's the direction that CUNA is continuing, and I'm sad for that. I chose CUNA, and there's a lot of places to choose from, and the schools are suffering, and the EMS infrastructure is suffering. I'm really proud of the new police station. It's beautiful, and I'm excited for that. But not even looking at the structure of what this will bring, I think that the community has been speaking on social media, the neighbors. Nobody is excited for this. Nobody's asked for this. Nobody wants this to happen. And so what I ask is that if you guys choose to pass this tonight, to give us a reason why the community needs it and why we should have it. So that's
Thank
it.
you.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
Just as good.
Beverly Wolfe.
Good evening, Beverly Wolfe, 3420 West Commemoration Avenue. Thank you for hearing me. So I don't live adjacent to this division, but I echo what the previous speaker said about the density that's going on in the city and the fast building. I had a question about the sewer. I thought it said that the Mason Creek trunk line needed to be operational. Isn't that different from the lift station? if anybody can answer that, I don't know. Somebody already spoke about traffic, so I won't be repetitive. The schools, however, are a hot button, and here's why. I moved here only less than 2 years ago. I am paying on my taxes for a bill that was passed in 2017 to build a high school, Swan Falls. It only built a third of the school. If I'm lucky, I'll live to pay off the interest of just that bond. Every bond we get imposed with, it puts us in bondage. I mean, we're literally a slave to the debt of this forever. And you guys want more and more and more. The last one didn't pass, but when's the next one? The developer will encourage the passage of the bond or the levy that comes up for vote. And that's lovely, except he's not paying it, we are. And I don't know about anybody else, it's getting more and more expensive to live here. Our utility bills are going up at alarming rates every year. They're jumping at exponential rates. I don't get it. The traffic, the sewage, the schools, I mean, how much more do you want? There's a note, I think it's on the last page of your Envision plan. It says, nothing in the United States Constitution's Fifth Amendment requires a government entity to promote the maximum development of a site at the expense of the public purse or to the detriment of the public interest. Taxpayers need not subsidize unwise development. This is a beautiful plan. It's really nice that you want to add all this, but what do we want? You know, what do the people want? Is it time to look at the map again? Because coming in clean, cold from out of state and didn't know it was there, I might not have bought where I bought if I'd known what the map was going to do to me. I just don't understand why you're moving so fast. Let's get all the fifth graders together and see if they could redraw a better plan. Why can't we mix agriculture and development? I'm just saying, they could be side by side. The traffic doesn't have to be hellacious. I don't see you guys putting in freeways. I came from California. Where are you going to put all these cars? How are people going to get out safely if there's that much density of high development in the middle? If there's a fire, if there's a flood, if there's a school emergency that everybody has to get out and pick up their kids, how are they going to get out?
Thank you, Ms. Wolfe.
Thank you, Beverly. Jeremy Hamilton, did you wish to testify? Okay. That left your options open because you didn't mark it either way, so.
Sure.
That's good.
Jeremy Hamilton, 2617 North Host Gulch Avenue here in Kuna. As I was listening to the past couple individuals stand up, I could think of hardly anything else more to say other than amen. Especially this last lady. She's up here shaking and everything, and she hit the nail right on the head. When we were presented this plan, we told the person presenting us, and I don't remember when it was probably the September 2021. We told them about Hubbard Road. Great, we want to widen Hubbard Road. Great, that's all going to happen. Problem is, in the previous picture that was there, was option A. It goes right in front of our house. And we told the person, take this subdivision, divide it in half. On the left-hand side, right, this graphic that's up, if you divide that right in half, you've got 2 roads that empty into the Greyhawk subdivision. I can guarantee you, if I'm in any one of those houses, I am not going to turn onto Hubbard Road. I'm going to go through the subdivision and go out Hubbard. One thing I don't know has been stated, we were told we will do a traffic study. Okay, fine. Do I trust it? No, I don't. Reason being, there are a few of us in this room that have witnessed the traffic currently on Hubbard Road. Widening it to 4 lanes is not going to do much because the distance between the light at Meridian Road and where they're going to put this entrance, regularly traffic backs up beyond that. So you're going to have to go through Grayhawk subdivision or you can't get out. And I love what she said because it's something that I've been thinking about. If we have to evacuate this area, what is this going to do to the people that live in Grayhawk? Because even if everyone goes out the planned way that they're going to go out, they're going to go out on straight down to Hubbard or straight onto Ardell. It's not going to happen when that traffic backs up. They're going to find the fastest route out, and it's going to be going through Grayhawk. And it's just going to be too much of a burden on us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice, thank you. Danielle Horras.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Danielle Horras, CUNA School District, Director of Strategic Partners, and I am at 711 East Porter. I have a clarity question. Is it possible for more people to testify if they haven't signed in? There are questions around here.
Yeah, we can do that.
So yes, okay, thank you. Well, I want to start with a legal definition of extortion, because I think we need to define that word. So that word is the use of force or threat of force to obtain money or another item of value from another person. Many jurisdictions classify extortion as a crime against property, but the threat of harm to a person is an essential element of the offense. So I'm here saying that I do not extort on behalf of CUNA School District. And I resent the implication. What I will do is support the heck out of our kids, and I will do so loudly and proudly with them. So I want to share with you, this new school district, or this new development is going to directly impact Silver Trail Elementary, CUNA Middle School, and CUNA Swan Falls, okay? Let me share with you a little bit of the numbers. They're not great. Silver Trail currently has 583 littlest students there. We're at a capacity of 616. That's 95% capacity right now today. That's not accounting for the other developments approved, right? So we already know that even if we go to our voters and ask for a bond, Silver Trail is going to be full. It's going to be full 110, 140, 170% capacity. That's really up to us today, but we already know it's going to be full. CUNA Middle School, capacity of 810. Current students, 739. Oh, those awkward little people running around middle school. That's 91% capacity. Are we going to go for 110, 130? What's our goal here? How do we want to serve our kids? Swan Falls High School, CUNA, 1,900 students capacity. We did. We built what we could with the money that our residents could afford. We have 1,904 kids there. These are our future. These are our residents and our workers, and we're at 101 capacity today. So this is not me pressing the red button and saying, hey, I think there might be a problem. I'm telling you loudly, it's a problem today. I also want to share with you something. I did meet with Mr. Connors. We had a great conversation. He's very different today, I'll tell you that. In that conversation, it was brought up that in June, locally owned Hubble, by a gentleman that is known in the community, sold Hubble to a Japanese-based, they call themselves a regional power builder. They're called Sekisui. And if I say that wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I looked up at how to say it. Hubble's annual revenue has $300 million. They just acquired another Houston-based, Texas, and they like to call them power builders. Their annual revenue is $514 million. I'm telling you, these folks have some money, and we need it. We need it for our kids, we need it for our schools, and frankly, we should stop going to our residents and asking them to pay for the cost of growth. CUNA has grown faster than the systems we have to support adding new residents, period. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Sandra Allen. And then, before you start, excuse me, did we have other people that wanted to testify? Because I'm going to pass this around. You can sign in on that if you would, please. Need a pen?
He's got one.
Got one.
We've got a stash down
Okay.
All right,
Good evening,
yes, you
Mr.
may have the floor.
Council
Thank
members.
you.
My name is Sandra Allen, 1589 North Harem Way, CUNA. At risk of putting a bullseye on my back, I'm a former California resident, originally started in Washington. Lived in California for a number of years, worked for the state there, one of the largest water departments. Retired and moved to Idaho, went back to work for the state here in the Department of Lands. I understand how Idaho's constitution works, that basically hamstrings any people that live in this community that want to impose these impact fees, which should rightfully be imposed. Get that isn't going to happen. Unfortunately, not enough mayors, cities, people will speak up and say, change this. We cannot afford this. I moved to CUNA about 9 years ago when I adopted my 4 young grandchildren because I wanted to live in a rural agricultural community and give these kids a chance to grow up in smaller schools. Big plans, bad idea. The growth I have seen here has been appalling. And everybody you talk to says, we don't want this, we don't want this. It keeps getting approved and getting approved and getting approved. Very happy you're willing to put up some signs on people's yards or on your property, say pass this bond. It ain't gonna happen. The people cannot afford it. So if you truly work for the people of the city of CUNA, listen to what these people are saying and do not approve this. We cannot afford this physically, mentally, financially, period.
Yeah, if you signed in, then go ahead and just state your name and the address. and go
I'm
ahead.
Zach Wilson. I live at 1122 East Jack Creek Street, so I live in the Greyhawk community. My family and I moved here back in 2018, so way before, well, there was still growth happening, but way before what I would consider the boom of growth. So we watched our Dell develop from nothing, having that extension go all the way and hook up with Meridian Road, which was needed because when we first moved, there wasn't any access out, like people have been talking about. That was very needed, very awesome. But even since then, like I have seen more accidents on Meridian Road than I've seen in my entire life since I've been driving since I was 16. And I'm just like appalled by what I'm hearing today from the developer. Like they think it's gonna be something like where they're strong-armed into making things work. You could call it a tithe. You could call it a donation. You could call it
If you would
anything.
just talk
Sorry,
to us, please.
sorry, I'm just irritated.
No, you're fine,
extremely.
that's fine.
You could call it an offering. You know, if you want, you could call it anything you want. If you're gonna do marketing for the bond, you could even make yourselves look like the hero and go, hey, we were gonna do this, but because we love the community and wanna see it grow, or however you wanna word it, you could say, we're gonna donate X amount of dollars to a fund that gets determined by the city where it gets allocated, whether it's the school, the fire department that needs money like crazy, the police department, infrastructure stuff. You could even say the fund could go to, you know, building the water sewer system that probably needs updating too. But it irritates me that like my family and I moved here due to the small town community stuff. My grandpa was a farmer. I love farmer people. We don't need more residential there, man. Make it all industrial. Or pick another piece of land. I mean, wasn't there something saying that at some point there was a certain part of CUNA that was zoned for industrial? So can't we find a spot away from the main corridor that can be more zoned for commercial and just leave that section alone until we figure out a better use for it? Because unless you guys decide to put a light at Ardell and Meridian, which most people don't want another light, I don't think a roundabout's gonna pull it off. Yeah, it's a mess. That's gonna get worse if that goes in. I'm neutral, I mean, because I like it. I like what I see, but I don't like the density of it. There is no way that there's good, like they've said before, exits out. And so, yeah, I think it should be nothing but commercial because we need the jobs, we need the tax dollars, but get rid of all that housing. And include maybe a little bit of the play stuff, like the greenery. We don't need more housing, man. And who's gonna buy it, right? Didn't we just break into 8% on mortgages and stuff? I've got a graduated senior. I'm forcing her to see wisdom to stay home and make money so she can have a deposit for a house at some point. Nobody's gonna be able to buy that.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, your name was Zach?
Yes.
Okay, good. Navanya Hamilton?
Thank you for listening to me today. And I'm standing up, I'm on behalf of the students, the kids in our community. Yes, you do notice an accent. I'm from Brazil, and I am an educator, a founder, a scholar, and I had experience with overcrowded classes, overcrowded school, and kids suffering, communities suffering, and teachers underpaid. And the company opened up and say they will not support, that they are bringing all of this to the community, and they will not donate to the community because I don't even remember the reason, because I don't think that is such a thing. A lot of business at the end of the year, they look for donations. I think just as the fact that if I build a stand up and say we will not contribute to education, this is just putting down the community. They are not here to help our community, our little ones, our kindergarten, first grader, middle schoolers, our high schoolers. They need a place to be, sit, to have a good education. Yes, we have amazing teachers. We have an amazing, the CUNY School District is amazing. And it's not just this specific community coming, but all the others. But mainly, we're talking about this. There is a lot of kids, 136. If every family, they only have 1 kid, 2 kids, we have more, 200 what? Right, 136 times 2? Everybody? So it doesn't, yeah, that's if only every household only have 2 kids. So anyway, I think the education sometimes is forgotten, but our little ones deserve to be noticed and heard. They are not here today, but I want to speak for them.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Erica? Well, I can't read the last name here. 2296 North Malvern? I'm sorry.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm a parent. I live here in the community, 2296 North Malvern. I live in the Sterling Ranch neighborhood, and I can speak to the traffic issue because I can tell you right now that there are folks from the Greyhawk neighborhood that currently cut through our neighborhood to get over to Deer Flat. We see an excess of traffic through there, and they're speeding through there. I see it all the time, and it's a newer development. I'm one of the newer buyers in that neighborhood, but I also relocated here 2 years ago due to a job change. I am a single parent. I chose this community because of the small community. And I wanted my daughter to be in a smaller school system and a smaller environment. And I came from Oregon, and I can tell you right now, I have seen fast growth. I have seen what fast growth does to the schools, what it does to the community. It's not always fantastic. I have seen the detriment it has also done to population and what it does to students. My daughter comes home from school now, and speaking to the schools and how they are, my daughter does not have time for a lunch break. She's a freshman, and granted, she's trying to balance everything out, but she goes into school. She's got days where she's bussed over to the Swan Falls and for her other elective classes, and she does not have time to eat. So every day, I can make her lunch. I send her off to school with snacks and stuff, but she does not have that time blocked in. It's a very short period, and the students, there's full classrooms. Kids are squished, kids are rushed. And, you know, my daughter has even said it would be great to see CUNA come up with more family-friendly things. I support growth, but I would like to see it be more thoughtful, more purposeful. Things like maybe movie theaters, bowling, parks, rec centers for the kids. Give the kids an outlet to do things and not get into mischief. Like, give them purpose, give them something to do and be involved with in our community, and not have just, you know, what we have today. I think having all this residential is a mistake. As a parent, somebody who lives here, we have clearly grown way too fast, and I would just like to see it pause and slow down, and if we could just be more thoughtful in the purpose of what we want to do in this community and listen to the people of this community is all I ask that you guys do, is please just pause. And I do thank everybody who's done their research and the statistics and everything that they have pulled, because that says a lot, and I think that speaks volumes as to where we're at today. So thank you.
Well said, thank you. Linda Kane? You'll have to straighten me out on that one. I almost could have got Linda CUNA out of that.
Yeah, you almost could have. My name's Linda Kane, and I moved into CUNA about 1.5 years ago. I feel like I live on 1278 East Sweet Pearl. So I too am in the Sterling Ranch subdivision, which I chided Kristen Sandu because it's not the CUNA Ridge or the Sterling Ridge, it's Sterling Ranch, I guess is what we call it. It's what's on our sign. But anyway, my home is literally, my backyard is Ardell. So this troubles me because what I see every day, I've never lived in a community, in an area where there is a tragic accident every single day. I mean, there's tragic accidents every single day. We had horses that were killed. We had people just right here by Jackson's this week. I mean, it's just horrible. People fly down that road. And I feel like if we're just putting the businesses there, I don't think that the businesses are bad, but I think we have to just be mindful about what we put there. I've been disappointed in CUNA because I don't feel like we need 15 dentists. I don't think that we need 15 pizza shops. I don't think that we need those kinds of things. I think we need things like Erica was saying, that we can bring things here that will support our kids and help our community. I'd like to keep the CUNA people in CUNA. Why can't we have a good sit-down restaurant to go to? If we're gonna put in a thought-out subdivision, nothing against you, developer, let's bring in something that's gonna support our community, not flood it with a bunch more houses. I mean, everybody here that has children in the schools, I don't have kids in the schools anymore. My kids are raised. But I think that we need to do things to take care of our people here in CUNA better and provide better opportunities for them so they don't have to drive all the way into Boise to do something that's really cool. You know, there's no reason we can't have some developments here that could be good for them. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank
Good,
you.
thank you. Carrera Atkinson.
Hi, Carrera Atkinson, 1225 East Whitbeck Drive. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Greyhawk HOA Board. We have seen huge concern from our community, many members who could not be here tonight, about the potential traffic burden that we are going to see with this addition, with our streets that have been dead-end since the beginning of the development being opened up, because there are communities to the west of us on K. It's called Greyhawk West, even though it's part of Greyhawk South. That with development, you know, there will be easier ways for them to get out if they pass through our streets that are right now dead-ended. we are concerned about just the impact that it's going to bring to our community as a whole with more people and less resources. There are a lot of people that have moved here that have a problem with the way of life that they came here for being gone. I'm a 4th generation Idahoan, and this place looks nothing like what I grew up with. And I'm welcoming and inclusive of everyone that wants to come, but we need to, you know, continue to support what they're moving here for also, while keeping what we all love about this place. And I think that continuing to promote CUNA as a bedroom community essentially is not sustainable. We need to do business with people that want to enrich our community, not just take the profits and pass it on to homeowners. And it doesn't seem like that's what this builder wants to do. They want to put in more houses that are going to burden our system, encourage us all to pass bonds or levies so we pay more out of pocket for them to take the money and run. And that's not what CUNA should be about. So, I mean, I'm all for bring the commercial. We need it. We need taxes. My kids are going to be in school in a few years, and I don't want them to be overcrowded. I'm sure no one else here does. But we also can't afford, you know, we can't afford to keep paying for more schools, to give more money to the public schools when there's just not enough already in several areas. So that's all I had. Thank you very much for your time.
Very good, thank you. Stephanie Paul? Oh, you had not testified. Do you want to? No. Okay, all right. Sorry about that. Sandra Allen, did I call that one yet? All right, that's all I have, I believe. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify? Oh, what's your name? Okay, yeah, go ahead and come on up and.
Thank you. Lots been said so far. There's a couple of issues that I have. Susan Peterson, 1320 East Sweet Pearl. I live in Sterling Ranch, and my house backs right up, and I look at that lot every single day. And please, as much as everybody wants commercial, I have to look at it. So, but I think it's way overdone up here. Beautiful, beautiful layout, though. However, I've got a couple of other issues that bother me. First off was the public posting on the city website. It did not occur on Friday the 29th. It didn't occur until Sunday, October 1st after 12 p.m. I think there's some sort of a legal issue in there. It wasn't available also today until after 12 p.m. Another piece is evidence in your evidence in the packet there on the evidence list. Item 2.36. It's called proof of property posting. And what it is the picture is to prove that they put up the white signs. And the one that came up that I'm looking at is was notarized for May 3rd. Problem is that the notary signed it 4 months before that date. They signed it in February to notarize the following May. And I think that's a little illegal. So I wanted to bring that up. As far as the development, I think that's a beautiful layout, and I commend you for putting that pool in with those apartments. Thank you. However, on those apartments, nobody's asked how many. There's 9 units. How many apartments per unit? If those are standing at three-story, you have to accommodate both the elderly and the disabled, which means you either put in elevators or you lower it to 2 and put ramps. Ramps are doable. Same way with any 3-story building. You have to accommodate the disabled and the elderly, which means either an elevator or ramps. And ramps are doable on a 2-story. Houses, my house actually sits right where that outlet is onto Ardell, and it's like right there. And that outlet really bothers me because when all that traffic, and if you look, All that traffic's on this half. Comes out onto there, that noise and the pollution level will increase to the point where it really infiltrates my house and my neighbors. Another point is if you put a 2-story house back along Ardell, back up there, we're elevated. So that 2-story house, literally the 2nd-story windows look straight into my house. Because I'm only a single story, but all my windows are up along the back side. So that would be an issue also. Anything else? Let me see.
You're doing good. Keep going.
I know. You know what? I've been practicing. I think I've hit it all, and if I haven't, everybody else has. One thing, I was thinking this morning, what makes CUNA really unique? And the uniqueness is, going down, we have camels here. I mean, who else? I walk out on my back patio when that farmer, before he plants his corn, he's got a herd of llamas that comes into his backyard, this fenced yard, that eat the weeds. And I go out there and I watch those animals every day. And that's what makes CUNA. That's what makes us unique. And to take those camels away and put industrial, no. I don't know. We need to maintain that uniqueness. And if you meld the two, you're going to bring all of that, all of Sterling Ranch, into all of CUNA, and we become a community. If you make that look like, little LA or little California, you're never going to get that unity. Thank you.
Thank you. We need to have lunch sometime. I like listening to you speak. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify in this matter? Oh, yes.
I was on there, I was just holding.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that cool?
Okay. Yes, come on up.
Sorry, my wife, so I was Kenneth Houston.
I enjoy the background noise, so that's cool.
He's usually really quiet. He's doing good tonight.
He's doing
This is his
awesome.
second meeting on this.
He's doing awesome.
Kenneth Houston, I was up there, 2208 North Hose Gulch. I literally just wanted to reiterate a couple things and had one question. I was outside and didn't get to hear. So what is the plans with Ardell? Was that supposed to be a right in, right out only situation? Just throwing this out there. I take Ardell every day to head into my shop. My question is, I'd say about 35–40% of us take that route to go out. If you push us all heading towards Hubbard Road to go out that way, because if you push us up Ardell right in, right out only, that's going to funnel us to the busiest intersection we have in CUNA. And everyone knows that. So you force us there, I can guarantee you they're either going to turn left or right, they're going to do a U-turn in D&B and head back the other way, or they're going to cut up and they're going to try to cut into KJ's, which if you've ever tried to come out of KJ's parking lot or come out from Ridley's and turn there, good luck. You're better off just shutting your truck off, saving half a tank of fuel, and waiting. That's exactly what's going to happen. So now you're taking something that if I were to take Hubbard to go out and head to work, that already, by the time I leave, I'm very fortunate. I own my own business. I could leave whenever. Between 6 to 7:30, it's not happening. That thing backs clear up. I've seen it back up past the stop sign before that and head down a little bit. People can't even go. I mean, so where are you going to put all those people? And then you add this subdivision, which brings in more people. Where are they going to go? You're just compacting the problem. The other concern I had is, I'm pretty sure my wife touched base on it. We have a new son. A lot of people around here, law enforcement, fire department, EMS. I know for a fact that I don't think our EMS can handle basically what we have now. How are you going to support more? And this isn't the only community. There's multiple other communities coming in. We don't have it. We've got to do something. So approve, deny is what it is. I'd love to see it denied. There's nothing I loved more than literally watching that corn being harvested with my son the other day. Whatever you do, we've got to be able to support our first responders to be able to have the resources to deal with what we have. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay. Rebuttal.
Thank you. And I know I'm not the most popular person in the room right now, but I want to thank the folks that did come up here and speak. I know that it's not a comfortable place to be, and it's not easy to speak publicly, and especially something you really care about. I completely identify with that, and I just want to thank you for coming. And it's really great to see the turnout tonight, even though I feel like I'm on the opposite side of it. I've been involved with CUNA for quite a few years, and it's definitely the largest turnout and the most folks that have come and spoke their heart, and I just want to acknowledge that. So thank you. If it's all right, do I have a time limit on my response to these? 5 minutes. Okay. When does my time start? Has it started yet? Not yet? Okay.
Speak like an auctioneer.
Well, there's a common theme, and I just want to acknowledge the one that's kind of standing out most, and that's the support of schools. And Danielle, I know we've had multiple conversations, and I feel like I did say potentially extortionary and potentially illegal. And so when I say that, the idea is when we were talking about paying a fee or paying something that it doesn't have to be a direct fee, it can be or something similar to that. When we brought it up as a company, and yes, we're not owned by a local group now, we're owned by Woodside Homes, and it is a subsidiary of a Japanese company. Any dollar we spend or anything we do, as you all know, if you work for any sort of corporation, they need to make sure that it's legal and that it's not going in someone else's pocket or whatever. And we're highly scrutinized as a developer on where money goes and everything like that. And so when I brought it up as, hey, if we can pay a fee, if we can pay for a consultant to help pass these bonds, if there's different ways that we can support, they said we cannot directly pay for anything that's going to do this in exchange for a positive vote of support. And so saying tonight and telling you tonight that I can write you a check for $50,000 tomorrow if you come up with this form of project, they were not comfortable with that. That said, there are ongoing conversations that I'm having with the Builders and Contractors Association in the city. We're talking to legislators working to get legal, or not legal, but required impact fees for school districts. As many of y'all know, in Idaho, cities can't, or school districts can't impose impact fees like a lot of times you see in Texas or in California. A lot of us come from other states. That's what we're accustomed to. In Idaho, all those fees, or the money for facilities either comes directly from the state or it comes from bonds. And so that's something that we're advocating for and that I am a very strong support of. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, just talking about the transportation issues. So we did have a neighborhood meeting a couple years ago with our neighbors. We submitted our application soon after that neighborhood meeting. I think we actually had 2 on this one. But at that point in time, the comment we got was, we don't want you all to cut through Greyhawk, and I understood that comment. At the time, ACHD was requiring us to connect or not connect to a roundabout along Hubbard Lane. We worked with the city, and we're going against ACHD's recommendations to not have a cul-de-sac there, which would effectively force the traffic through Greyhawk, and we are directing connectly to Hubbard. I asked for the city's support on this, and they're going to help support this and modify the master street map for ACHD, so we have this direct access to Hubbard to keep the folks out of Greyhawk, to get that traffic to Hubbard as quick as possible. The comment about, well, you have all these people now dumping out to Hubbard because Ardell in the future is going to be right in, right out. I completely understand that. In ACHD's staff report, they said with this increased traffic onto Hubbard, you're going to need to have a right turn lane and 2 left turn lanes off of Hubbard and a straight lane. So you have almost 4 lanes of traffic now, getting rid of the traffic off of Hubbard to get it off of Hubbard into Meridian Road as quickly as possible. And that those improvements are going to be required at a certain point of traffic impact at the point that the commercial comes online. Just want to quickly show the preliminary phasing plan. The project will move pretty slowly because, and Paul can speak about this if he'd like to, we are only allowed to have 40 dwelling units at a time for each phase. And so it forces the project to move pretty slowly, and the sewer and the water and the infrastructure will move through the single family, through our company side of things, and it won't get until the commercial until the 3rd and 4th, or for the 4th and 5th phase. So you're looking at, a year of design, another year of the first phase of construction, and then 5 years after that of this commercial actually coming online. So there's a little bit of a delay. There's time for infrastructure to keep up, for improvements to be done to these intersections in the future. So it's not all coming on day one. It's all moving as quickly as possible, or as we move through the project. As far as this is coming too fast and things need to pause, I've heard that quite a few times over the past 5 years, and in this project more than any other project. When we submitted this thing back in 2021, ACHD took 9 months to get a staff report because they're reviewing the traffic. Then we had it slated for P&Z and council last summer, and then Public Works, no offense to Paul, put a pause on it for another 9 months for them to look more at it to figure out their sewer planning and situation. So it wasn't until the springtime that they said, okay, we can start looking at this project now, we can start evaluating the impact of it, and that's when they kind of came to the 40 units per phase. Again, Paul can share more information. If you all want more information on that, you can get to it. So this project has kind of been through the ringer as far as too much too soon, and we've been working through it in increments with ACHD for the traffic and through the Public Works Department. For the folks that have are direct neighbors to our site, we're trying to do a transition because on the future land use map, it shows this whole area as mixed use and commercial. So there really wasn't any residential on there. Mixed use usually means that people live there, work there, shop there, et cetera. So we're trying to have this transition. We put not that much residential housing adjacent to the existing Greyhawk, and we did connect there at 2 points because there were 2 existing stub streets, and by city code, where there is a stub street, you have to connect to it, which is why we have those 2 easterly point on this south part of this map, on the bottom part of this map, those 2 connection points to Greyhawk. And in fact, I honestly think with the new connection of our street to Hubbard, it now gives Greyhawk more than 1 exit onto Hubbard as it is. So most likely, we're talking about cut-through traffic through our site. I think there's actually going to be maybe more cut-through traffic through our site from Greyhawk to get to Hubbard or Ardell quicker. So I don't think I touched everything that everyone talked about. If there's any clarifying questions, or maybe if I didn't touch on something, I can try to answer the best I can.
Okay.
And any direct questions about the actual application or the sign posting or anything like that, I think Troy can probably best answer. The whole notary date mix-up, I honestly don't have it in front of me, but I promise there's no negligence to the site posting, the affidavit of site posting. I don't know if it was just a clerical error on the date, but I can assure you this site's been posted like 5 or 6 times because of all the times we've been delayed. So I don't know, maybe it was an old affidavit from the other times we posted on the site. I don't exactly know. So anyway, I stand for any questions you all have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Not yet. I do. So when you mentioned the 90-10, right, 90 residential to 10, how does this change that ratio? Because we're still putting in commercial and adding more, if not, it doesn't change it, right? So it doesn't, we need the commercial, but I don't see how that changes the ratio for you at all.
Do you want me to, is that a comment or
Well,
is
just,
there a question?
you put it out there like that, but this doesn't necessarily change that ratio. Secondly, I can appreciate you helping with the bonds or whatnot, but the continued tax burden on our community, I mean, I live here, I pay the taxes, but the problem is, have you been to the schools? Have you driven around Hubbard during those times?
Have.
Were you satisfied with it?
No, it's like most schools, the parent loop and everything is a little bit of a chaotic place for about 30 minutes.
And I understand too with impact fee bills because 3 of them ran and failed this year. So as many people as here, reach out to your legislators, tell them how you feel for all of your districts because it's important to do that as well. That's all. I just had a couple statements.
Is there, can I, was there a question on the share of the 90%?
No, I was curious how it offset. You said this, it's 90% 10.
Because I can tell you the eventual commercial value of the commercial property, if that would be helpful.
It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything further? No. All right, thank you.
Not necessarily.
48 residential units.
You go ahead and answer if you want.
So
But
the-
actually repeat the question.
It's just yeah, no, I'm trying to get your name. Susan, right? Okay. So the way that we drew it out is there's 9 apartment lots. So, and also with this application, we had 24 unit buildings, so it's saying it's 216 total units there. Again, we're not the apartment developer, so someone could come in and they could choose to put less than that. That would be the maximum. So when we submit this application, a typical apartment complex is about 24 units in a building of this size and this nature and this. So right, yeah, we're just developing the lots. And then the design review, so if we sold the property to a commercial developer, they couldn't ask for more than 24 units on each building, because that's what would be part of the approval. They could come in and do 12 units per lot, but they cannot go above that. So typically, with this, we asked for the highest number to give the most flexibility within reason. Obviously, we want to stay within that parameter of that high-density apartment zone there.
All right, thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right, question is rightfully before council.
Let's go back to that page.
I did want to ask Troy about those concerns brought up about the city code, if we get any clarifications.
He's been studying.
Always. For the record, Troy Buchanan, Senior Planner. So that's a great question, Councilmember Biggs. There is 2 different versions of the code on when something needs to be noticed and when a meeting needs to be held. As the council is aware, we have an effort underway to consolidate city code and to remove some of these contradictory terms. One section of code does say that, another section says that it just needs to be scheduled for the first public hearing within 60 days, or within 60 days of acceptance. And 60 days of acceptance means that we've reviewed the application and it appears to be correct, or at least it appears to be complete. And then we spend the next few weeks ripping it apart, making sure that things are intact and that they are correct. So with the effort that we have to combine Titles 5 and Title 6, we have removed the contradictory portions of code. So, and this is one of them, that it's something from yesteryear that's been around. And so if we were to go with the narrow point of view, there's not a single application in the last 8 years that would ever make it to city council. Not one. Because
Takes too long.
we give, as a city, we give partner agencies, ACHD, CUNA School District, Idaho Power, Police, Fire, Garbage, Idaho Power, all of them, and there's a list we can give you if you really want to know who it is. Well, actually, you can see it on the agency comment request form. But we give them 15 business days to review it. It used to be that we would mail all the packets out. We've jumped into the 21st century, and now we email everything out. That's 15 business days. That's the better part of a month. That's just for them, for those partner agencies to receive, digest, and in the case of ACHD, I don't know if the school district does it or if any other districts or any other partner agencies do it, but I know ACHD on big projects like this, they take it to their board, which is a 30-day process or sometimes longer before they can even get it on their docket. That's in addition to the TIS, the traffic impact study, being completed. which that normally is a 7-month process. So as you heard Patrick testify, in this particular instance, from the time staff sent out the first, and there were 2, the very first time we sent out for public agency comments, it took them nearly 9 months to produce a final report. There's no way we would make the 60-day mark.
So what you're saying is we're fixing that code.
We're fixing that code.
All right.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay, did that clarify? All right. If I start doing that, then I gotta give him time for rebuttal and we're gonna go in circles. Is it really, really, really important?
There is a contradictory code.
Okay. So let's, if you would like further clarification on that, we can get together with that and go over that. We wanna make sure we get it right. I appreciate that. Okay. Question for Troy?
Thank you, Troy.
I'd like to ask Morgan a question too.
Okay.
So, commercial development in this area, going by the phasing plan, we're 5 years at least away. How much interest do you have in this area? This is along the prime corridor, I guess we were saying, for, between Meridian and Cuna. So, it just seems to me a little offsetting that we're gonna be putting in a whole bunch of residential before all of this prime commercial goes in. We're several years down the road. So just wanted to get your thoughts.
Mayor, Councilman Biggs, I think part of the overarching thing when we talk about this plan and this subdivision is understanding how the parcels of land that we have available to come into the city, how those work with the market-driven forces. So this property was purchased when a lot of property was purchased. In a way, a lot of property is purchased directly from a farmer who had been farming it. These are agricultural 40s. This is essentially 240s when we look at it, right? When property comes in that way, we don't get we have to take it the way it comes. So it's 240s, we want the commercial frontage, the rest of it is going to be developed residential, fading back into the existing neighborhood per development. Those commercial lots will be, as Patrick talked about, will be divided and sold off to the builders. This developer is not a commercial developer. We need to get the commercial property annexed into the city and available to be sold. I would imagine as soon as this is platted and recorded, I will have phone calls about it. That's just how it works. But until this property is annexed and subdivided into lots that are actually ready to be built on and developed by commercial users, there really isn't that interest. So it's one of those where we have to take it as we can get it because we are looking at large agricultural parcels. Does that make sense? We're waiting, this is preparing it for the market.
I'm just trying to think of examples of commercial that runs up against residential, and there is around Cuna, but that's probably not in the spirit of the future land use map. Is that what you're saying?
No.
For the mixed use versus the frontage commercial that you were talking about.
So this is actually, from a mixed use perspective, exactly what we want to see on that kind of design where we have a multifamily commercial user fading back into that single family residential that butts up the next set of agricultural parcels. So on this plan, you see an anchor user and then the commercial frontage lot. So, I mean, generally you'd have an anchor user, hard corner retail, that's gonna be like your restaurant, a sit-down restaurant, that type of user. And then going back more towards the mid-mile on the Ardell side is where you would see more of your Class A office. So those, when you look at those lots, that green that wraps around, I think it's important to look at those Those are commercial lots as well. They just don't have a concept site plan on them the same way.
Okay? Further questions?
I do. I have a question for Paul.
Okay.
The 40 EDUs that are allocated per phase, it looks like phase 1 is more than 40 units.
47 by my count. 47 by my count.
Excuse me. Paul Stevens, City Engineer and Public Works Director of City of Cuna. That's easily told to you. When we did the Danskin Force Main project, we had a certain amount of EDUs left over at the end. So I wrote a resolution to the council to see how we would divvy this up so it's fair, so people would have a chance to, not all one developer could take all of it.
Right.
So the resolution says that we will give it out at 40 EDUs per application based on a first come, first served basis, so that it would be fair and we could spread out as many EDUs as possible to keep people working. And
Thank
that's
you.
in a resolution that you guys passed.
I remember.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Or you need
Thank you.
more? I can
Yes,
give you
sir.
lots more information. We've
I'm
got
good,
days
thank you.
worth.
And to confirm, Paul, the Danskin upgrade is complete.
Yes, and functioning.
Thank you.
I have no more questions. I'm ready to deliberate.
Okay, Mayor, I would move we close the evidence presentation and proceed to deliberation.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Well, inability to serve with the school district is certainly a huge issue, and we can't overlook that. The last several years, I've tried to get some legislation through to where we can impose impact fees for school districts. It just doesn't seem equitable that we can charge impact fees for parks, but not schools. And this last year, I was just hopeful that with all the bills that ended up going, that we would actually get a hearing on one, and that didn't happen. So the last several years, and not even being able to get a hearing with the legislature tells me that that's not happening. So I think we can quit hanging our hat on hopefulness that impact fees are gonna come for schools. And I don't completely fault the legislature on that, because impact fees are based on assets, and schools have a lot of assets. So I think from what I remember with the school district, they did kind of a study, and if you went with a full-blown impact fee for school districts on a residential dwelling, it's like $33,000. So the legislature required some sideboards on there. We tried to write legislation this year that put sideboards on there, and I don't know that we'll ever get anywhere with that. So we're gonna have to figure out different routes for that, but it's certainly not fair for the citizens that live here to have to foot the entire bill when it comes to additions to schools. That costs a lot of money. So anyway.
Go ahead, big dog, you're ready to talk.
Well, so obviously the schools, right? We deal with it time and time again. And with as many residential houses that have already been approved here, once the rates come down and people do start buying houses again, I think and they start building again, it's going to happen fast, and it's going to be kind of overwhelming. I do have concerns about the traffic there. I don't go down that road anymore because I've been stuck there for a long time. I do have concerns about the extra trips during the day. also the in and out of that area. I like the commercial. I think we need some more commercial tax base to offset the residential, but adding the residential in it at the same time just doesn't fit for me.
So, I have concern about the commercial as well, that we're kind of a long way away from that by the phasing plan. And then that 90 to 10, it's a rough number, but just doing my bad math, it's about another 3% if you add the 1,100-ish residents that would be potentially new before this commercial would go in. So that's going to be, again, offset the tax burden to the taxpayer. So I have some concerns about that. I did also some of my bad math. The calculation for the between Meridian Highway 69 and the first entry egress point, I guess, from the subdivision is about 1,180 feet. I'm not as concerned, I guess, about going out with the double lane turn as coming in, because if you go down to Deer Flat and you try to make a left turn into the Ridley's street, that's it's actually a little bit further than where this one would be. And I have some serious concerns about that, even with a left turn lane being put into there. So that's another point of concern for me. Ardell, just like the gentleman was speaking earlier, I think it was Kenneth, was speaking about the Ardell, the right in, right out. That's going to cause a mess at Deer Flat. No two ways about it. Going to the schools, I've been to Kuna High School, going in there during normal school time, and if you haven't been in there, it is an eye-opening experience, and I can appreciate Danielle's her explanation earlier. I think extortion is a strong word for this, but there is a precedent almost with several other developments have worked with the school district to donate land or donate a bus. I think we've had in the past. A house. We've had several things, not saying that that's mandatory, so that's where I guess a disconnect with extortion would be for me, is that it's not mandatory you have to do anything, but it's a good faith gesture that I think that should be appreciated. Not to say that what Hubble is offering is bad by any means, because Hubble has worked in the past, but it doesn't, there's no mitigating factor, I guess, for the schools. And when I think of mitigation, I'm thinking of tangible things that's going to help with the overcrowding.
The capacity.
Exactly. We are, as we said, at Kuna High School, at Swan Falls, 101%. Kuna Middle School at 91, and I'm sure that's growing. At Silver Trail at 95, and that's one of the lower ones, because I think Hubbard and Crimson Point, I think, are over 100%. So, so that's another concern that I have. And the sewage part I'm not as worried about, but in the water, but those other things to me just gives me significant pause. Mostly the traffic in the schools, but I agree with you that we definitely need commercial to offset the tax burden on the taxpayer. It's we need that entire Meridian Road area would be nice to develop commercially. So.
Right, well, the sewer's not generally a concern. Sewer's not generally a concern because we don't issue building permits unless there is sewer capacity available, so.
A few things, just to clarify. I know it was brought up several times about people cutting through neighborhoods, and I lived in a subdivision where that happened frequently, and unfortunately, there's really not much you can do about it. I'm not in favor of it by any means, but and it goes both ways. We taught you, there was people that testified about living in Sterling Ranch and, you know, people cutting through that way, vice versa. That's just gonna come with development. Another statement that was made about, you know, keeping it ag, it's dangerous for the farmers to be on the road. I can attest to that. 6 years ago, I was hit in a tractor on a Sunday morning. It's already dangerous for the farmers in that area. I still farm in that area, and adding however many more trips, I heard way too many different numbers about what it would add to trips per day. I can't even imagine, but the flip side of that is, you know, a retiring farmer wants to sell his land, and farming around here is a dying breed. I know we'd all like to keep it small, or, you know, small rural. We have to manage it, 'cause it's not gonna stay that way forever, and we have to embrace that, but I don't support this project, because I don't think it's gonna add too much too fast at that intersection and that area. And I just don't think it's right. The school district, of course, that's always the big concern, and it's the numbers that Danielle gave, you know, overcrowded, right on the verge. And that's not counting stuff that hasn't built out that's already approved in that area, so I'm not a big fan of this. I like the commercial, of course, but with commercial comes the residential, and so what do you want here, you know?
It's hard to say, you know, with, you know, people have a right to sell.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly,
You were
but-
exactly right, because all of us have moved here at some point, pretty much, except for Joe, I think. The Mayor, you've been here.
Probably born here.
I've lived here my whole life.
And you've been here your
As
whole
you-
life. I've been
yeah.
here since '96, and CUNA has changed a lot. So when we say that, you know, we all came in here, moved here, and then, oh, let's stop now. I can appreciate that, but, again, this is a very difficult one to swallow with so many, different things, like we've all been saying, that it's hard to support.
Well, if we can go back in time, I'll go back to when I was in high school, because CUNA was really cool then.
Yeah. You have anything else?
No, I think I've talked enough. No one wants to hear me anymore.
I make a motion that we deny case number 21-13AN and 21-09S.
May I make a suggestion? We are not required to do annexations, and so we really don't need to, that makes a preliminary plat.
So where do we send it?
And otherwise, we would have to go back and give explanations.
Just your first one.
Mark,
Okay.
maybe city attorney, the advice I'd give on that is if you don't annex, you don't have jurisdiction to decide the plat application, so that would be rendered moot, and we can prepare that in the ultimate written determination, and so if it's just a determination on
The
the
annexation,
annexation,
thank you.
that's all we need.
So I make a motion that we deny case number 21-13AN.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, could we take a short break?
What's that?
Could we take a short break? I need to adjust the recording.
Oh, sure. Okay, we're on break. Go ahead.
Barely
It's
keeps
still-
farming it.
It's still part of the county.
No.
No, lands, in order to be annexed from a city, lands have to be contiguous. So Meridian would have to have a property next to it. They don't. Now, if you get further out, and that was a possibility, that could happen. But that said, the county could approve a subdivision going there. That happened with Spring Rock out here. We denied a 2,600 home subdivision out there based on annexation, and so then they went to the county, and the county approved the subdivision. So it's a county subdivision, not a city one. It still happened, but it's just not in CUNA.
This one, farmed it also when I was in high school.
Let
Directly
me
north
get
of it where the quarry barn sub is. I farmed that in high school and several years ago. Directly east of this, on Meridian Road, Quarry Barton owns some more ground. My family farms it right.
Yeah.
So it's, and then the address, oh, I keep the farm. Yeah, it's too dangerous out there.
Right.
I was hit at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning by 65, so I was 18.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, it's dangerous. I mean, I get keeping the rural feel, but, I mean, change is coming. I moved here, and you are all the reason it changed.
That's what I wanted, that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying, it's like,
and
it's
I'll-
all your fault. And, yeah.
Family in town, so I think they may want to come. I know my mom will be here next week, and she wants to. We have a, we like, we're from Charlotte, man. We love our chili. Yeah, come by and say hello. Awesome. Oh, tell mom I said hello. No.
That came to me, I didn't.
Yeah, well, it was put on, are you part of the parents teaching school district?
Sure.
I'm a little extra want to write and contribute, and I need that, but the funds need to right for that.
Yeah.
Save every dollar, and hopefully we'll be able to use those funds.
Sure. Sure. Well,
You'll be part of the reason success.
perfect.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
No, I got on that, and it's like, and I'm super busy harvesting and stuff now. And then the rain screwed everything up, so we're fixing everything. So once it dries out enough, we can go again. But yeah, yeah, perfect. Appreciate it. Yeah, yeah.
You made me look good. I talked to him and not KTVB that Friday. I was like, anything to get out of talking to KTVB.
It's not the same.
No, that was. Sheriff read that article. He goes, "Man, that was really well done." I go, "It was really well done." I was like, "You saved me." The mayor goes, "You threw me under the bus." I go, "You need the video time right now."
Oh boy.
Good. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Next item is consideration case number 2301 CPF and 2303 ZC. Staff has requested this item be tabled due to a date certain of October 17, due to a noticing error.
Let's try that again. I would move we table item 5B, case number 23-01 CPF 2303 ZC until the date certain of October 17th, 2023.
Second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Consideration to approve resolution R74-2023 approving City of Kuna combined fee schedule. Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, Chris Ingalls, Kuna City Clerk, 751 West 4th Street, Kuna, Idaho. So all the departments have worked diligently to try and get all of our fees on one fee schedule so that we can publish those. They're also designed to be broken apart so each individual department can have them. We did issue out a notice that was properly published with September 20th and 27th for this public hearing. You will see that there have been some fee changes in it. The fees were evaluated based on the cost of living, the annual cost of living, and so our city fees are only allowed to cover the administration costs of actually performing the duty that's assigned that administrative cost. Some are regulated by state code, which we have no authority to change those. Administrative costs are the costs that an individual needs to pay for the use of individual services of city-funded or taxpayer-funded employees. All the departments have looked through their fees, and they sent them over, and so everybody has approved what has come forward to you, and I will stand for any questions.
Okay, questions for Chris?
No, sir.
All right, this is a public hearing, and is there anybody who wishes to testify who did not get a chance to sign in? All right, Cindy, did you wish to testify? Okay.
Cindy, we make sure the light's on.
The light.
Thank you.
Hello,
There you go.
Mayor and City Council members, thank you for what you do. My name is Cindy Geeson, and my address is 1363 South Ash Avenue. And I just had a couple questions about the fees. As I was looking through the list of them and what was being charged, number one was there was no more fees for the property behind City Hall. And I think that used to bring in some funds because of the Renaissance, a lot of activities. So I'm just wondering, is that no longer going to be an income, number one? And then my second question was, as I looked through it, I see like we've got a lot of stuff happening with our economic development that seems to really tie up their time, especially with Meta, and all of its alias LLCs, with power, water, et cetera, et cetera. And I haven't seen an economic development meeting or hearings since Lisa passed. And so I really don't know what's going on, but to me, when I come here, most every other meeting, something's happening to change with them. So I see a flat fee, and I'm wondering, and then there's lawyer fees. I'm wondering, have you ever considered hourly rates for Morgan's time? Because it seems like there's a lot of put into her time, just because I don't have any data to say otherwise, towards that, and they're redoing things and they're changing things. And it doesn't seem very beneficial to our growth, like this commercial development we just looked at. who's even thought to go after that, you know, and maybe work alongside our house developer and figure out how we could get those things happening at the same time. So that was just my question. Is there ever a thought of an hourly fee when things consume your time like that?
Then Morgan would probably want paid more.
Excellent, because we will get more commercial and
Yeah,
good
and,
jobs.
Like the fees for the, like out back here, that basically the only reason we would charge a fee is if somebody wants to reserve it for their sole purpose. And so that's the only reason there would be a fee for that. Otherwise, everybody's free to use it whenever they
Okay,
want.
because I
beside
did
that.
see you're planning to do some more development around here, around the city hall. That used to be the area that you're going to build a pool and a recreation hall for the kids when the mayor Nelson was in charge. So I'm sad to see that that's not even a consideration anymore.
Oh,
So,
yeah, we haven't had any,
yeah.
anything, things like that are gonna require a bond and.
But the main thing was, you know, the time, the amount of time that that's being consumed. And then the lawyer fees, I'm just wondering, who's paying those lawyer fees? Like it was our idea that we need a new wastewater deal with Meta. So did we have to pay those lawyer fees or was it paid by Meta? Just wondering how these expenses are.
Yeah, and so we've negotiated those things with them, so they're covering most all the costs.
Of all these changes they're making. All righty, but she still should be paid hourly more. So,
right.
Or we should have another person to work on the other issues in our community for more economic development to help cover Meta.
Good, thank you. Brett.
Thank you, Ms. Geeson.
Morgan understands.
And I believe I found the missing sign-in for that last hearing. Is Susan Peterson?
Oh,
yes.
She signed in on this one, so she's not here. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify who didn't get a chance to sign in? All right, thank you very much.
I have a question for Chris. What is a sexually oriented business license?
Oh, you had to go.
That would,
And it's expensive too.
yes, sir, it is. That has been in place for a very long time. And the reason that it is expensive is because it requires a great deal of analysis, but it would be topless dancing, strippers, a store that sells related items.
Okay,
Is that enough?
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please
Yeah, you're
let
painting
that be
pictures,
enough.
please stop.
I think I need to go to law school on these attorney fees.
This is where you can start saying, Chris, stop doing that, like make it sound like on the record she's doing something totally inappropriate.
All right, anything further?
No.
Okay, then I would move we close the evidence presentation and proceed to deliberation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries.
I would move we approve resolution R74-2023.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to approve resolution R74-2023. Any further discussion on that motion?
I did have,
Okay.
I was just gonna ask, since this is my first time with this. I assume this is normal every year that we do, something like this, so, we're not a profit, we're not for-profit, obviously the city's not for-profit, so we can't charge anything above what it costs to operate, so, I just didn't know who normally reviews that and checks that, that's our.
Kind of, so we all, like if it's a building permit, they know about what time it takes them and staff time and the amount of research and things, so they kind of figure out what theirs are. Same with clerk's office and attorneys and everybody kind of figures out what time it takes and what it costs to do that. Is that pretty much accurate, right?
No, it's exactly accurate.
Okay.
Good.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, business items. Consideration to reestablish the youth council. Councilmember Matt Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I met, Councilmember Bruce and I both met with Superintendent Johnson from the CUNA School District, and we had a great conversation. One of the things that I've been wanting to get going again once I heard about it, when we were at the City Council state meeting with the governor and everything, was a youth council, because I heard Pocatello had one. I said, well, what about CUNA? So I went and started Googling, and I found our page. It was a little older. I was telling you about the picture earlier. But anyway, I think this is a great way to engage our kids and have them be part of the community and tell us what's going on from their point of view, something to bring up. And what we came to the conclusion of with Superintendent Johnson was we would do this as a collaborative. The desire from the school district side was that we had each class from the 6th grade and up represented. So we're talking, we would have four, one from each class at CUNA High School, and then one additional from CUNA High School who is the leader, would be the spokesperson for the council, or the mayor, if you will, I guess. Two at CUNA Middle School, two at Fremont Middle School, and then one at one or maybe two, depending on interest, at Initial Point High School. So my request for staff would be, should we establish this, again, is to update any necessary bylaws and the website, and a press release, which the school district already has done today, actually. Wendy Johnson's newsletter went out that this was being talked about. So if everyone concurs that this is what I'd like to kind of spearhead, and we can take this forward, and I wouldn't mind being the point person, or I'm not going to speak for Councilman Bruce, but I know he's very interested in this as well. So.
Okay, so I actually was talking to, so the other youth councils around, Napa has one, Caldwell has one. They try to get those kids at the AIC, Association of Idaho Cities Conference, every year. The issue that I had when we had one before was gaining support to, most of those cities give their youth councils a budget so that they can do some kind of projects, whether it's in the parks or whatever. We ended up getting some funding so they could put in some park benches and things like that. But the problem I had was getting council to approve for funding for them to have a budget so that they could move forward. And then the first year I had a couple of really superstar girls that really led things and got things going and kept them all in high spirits. The second year I had one young man that was kind of that way. And then there wasn't really anybody to step up and take that leadership role because we didn't have a budget for them. So that's why that one kind of went away, and then other things occurred. So I like your idea of doing it in conjunction with the schools. I can get you in contact with the folks I spoke to at Nampa and Caldwell, and you can kind of see what they do. But I think that youth council is a great idea, and I think that we don't have to set ours up like other people do theirs. So whatever you have in mind for that, I'm in full support of.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it just dawned on me, so I'm trying to remember from our conversation, but the superintendent did say that the intention would be to have a meeting with whoever the council members are. They They can submit applications between now and probably the end of October. They would get together and then they would have a presentation for us of how they want to run things, basically. They bring it, they're gonna be somewhat autonomous. They'll come and make a presentation on November the 7th is a target. And I think the vision was every 2 weeks, having a meeting where it would be hosted by the school district, where they would pay for lunch for them to come in, and then they would invite, if they wanted to invite, for example, they wanted to invite Jared to come in and talk about city treasury, or they wanted to invite Morgan in to talk about economic development, or they would always try to have at least one of the council members there. Mayor would be invited, different people throughout the chief. So I think that was a great idea, and I would definitely be in support of a budget for them as a show of good faith into this, since the school is going to be putting forth money to feed the kids, and then also get a bus to pick them up to bring them over to the high school to do their meetings.
Well, my goal was always to have the kids be an actual council, so that they could have meetings and discuss, and the kids in the audience could actually be the ones that help do the public hearing, so to speak, and they can decide how to spend the funds, what kind of projects they want to work on, and then move forward like that. So, but however you guys want to do it is, I'm all on board.
We had one young lady, Emily Wright is her name, and she was a sophomore, and she's been part of other.
The superintendent, the state superintendent's council and.
Council.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was really excited about, I think she's kind of one to kind of spearhead this and lead this thing. But yeah, to try to have a council where they make decisions and then they come to us to make a report, but also they would have their meetings and we could be there to help advise.
And their own bodies of constituents, I guess.
Definitely, yeah, and that's up to them. If they would have one representative, the senior class, the junior class, but they also have their pool of people that they can pull ideas from and such.
Well, that'd be a good idea. Then they can get ideas of what it is they want to do, and with some guidance, then they could come to council and request a budget of what they want to use it for.
I think it'll be good just to have these are going to be our leaders of the future, so.
Right,
to help with their leadership abilities and just the structure and navigating government. I think a lot of the younger generation have written it off, but it'd be good to maybe get more buy-in.
And I like the idea of them requesting the budget. That would be, tell us what you want rather than us just saying, here's money.
Okay, yeah, if you want to take charge of that, that'd be good. Just let me know what you need from me, and I'm more than happy.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Anything further on that?
No, sir.
All right, good job. Discussion and direction for staff to pursue changes to the city's future land use map. Councilmember Bruce.
So this, the way that we've gone about it and approved development commercial over the last few years, I think it's time that we maybe just take a look at it as a whole, maybe a 10,000-foot view. I'd like to see. I'd like to request that the staff provide input or explore changes to the land use map, possibly a task force with community members, members of partner agencies, and the school district. That way we can all look at it as a whole and kind of gauge where we want to be within the next decade or so. I think there's a lot of opportunity for discussion with our community and our partner agencies, as well as the school district and our council as well. So.
Okay, yeah, and we can do that. That's the last time we had pretty good community participation in our open houses on that. So.
And Doug's been great too with just kind of bouncing ideas around, looking at a higher level view of where we're at. So.
I remember the last one was at CUNA High School. They had a big open house. It was nice. Yeah, I think things have definitely changed a lot since the last time the map, the last major revision, I think in 2018. A lot of farming areas probably sold.
Well, Doug's got some great ideas on how to make things look a little different that gives council a little more leeway and doesn't tie you down necessarily to zoning and.
And I think we're seeing a lot of the community members who want to have input on it too. And I think that would be good to get their opinions and thoughts and also our agency partners.
Yeah, I think it's certainly time to do that again, so. Okay.
And thank
Do
you,
you need
Doug.
any further direction than that, Doug, or is?
I think I can run with that.
Okay.
Yep.
I've seen him run. He's not actually, he used to play football.
He's yeah.
For a lineman,
He's not terrible. I wouldn't get in his way. All right, consideration on number 23-07-TE time extension. Imagine that's Doug.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Doug Hansen, CUNA Planning and Zoning, 751 West 4th Street. Due to unforeseen delays with the development of Fossil Creek Number 1 regarding excessive rock and additional infrastructure redesign, the applicant requests time extension approval for the Fossil Creek Number 2 final plat, which they plan to have completed by the fall of 2024. Per CUNA City Code 623J2, when a preliminary plat is approved with phases, the first final plat shall be submitted within 2 years of preliminary plat approval, which with each successive phase's final plat being recorded within 1 year of the previous. The Fossil Creek Number 1 final plat was recorded August 23rd, 2023, resulting in this final plat requiring a recordation date of August 23rd, 2024. However, by requesting a time extension, the new recordation date would be 1 year from the signing of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, or October 17th, 2024. Upon review, staff has determined this time extension request to be compliant with CUNA City Code 6.3 and Idaho Code 6765. With that, I will answer any additional questions you may have.
Which certainly helps with our pause with growth.
So 2 months is what it is essentially?
For the record, Doug Hansen, CUNA Planning and Zoning, yes. So they anticipate being completed in fall of 2024, but they don't believe they can hit the August 23rd deadline. They need a couple additional months.
That's much different than the most recent extensions we've had. For excessive rock. We got a little bit of rock underneath.
Couple lava tubes.
Okay, I would move we approve number 23-07TE.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve resolution R71 2023, Morgan Treasure.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Morgan Treasure, Economic Development Director for the City of CUNA. I'm bringing forward a pair of agreements, so I think I'll talk about them from a historical level that kind of applies to both. These are the Brisbee LLC agreements that were brought forward with the project agreement when we put together the original negotiation with Meta for the design and construction of the water and wastewater facility that was part of that total package. As you all know and heard multiple times, there was a design pivot, and one of the key things that happened when that design pivot occurred was a change that made the data centers themselves much more water efficient. So moving away from that evaporative cooling system to a closed loop system that doesn't have nearly the amount of water consumption that the original design had. So, you know, being a data center and hearing the concerns of the community, water was one of the bigger ones, and this is definitely a move in the right direction. So we're really excited about that. So this big positive move in the design, but with that came the need to update the agreements so that they actually reflect more realistically the usages that are going to occur now with that infrastructure. So the infrastructure agreement is the agreement that covers the construction of the facility and how it will be dedicated to the city. The major changes in that one just have to deal with the utility installations themselves and design changes made to the lagoon parcel that fit the reduced water needs. An upside to that is that the 160 acres that was designated for that had already been conveyed to the city, and now there is quite a balance of property that's going to be available for immediate use for the addition of other users coming into the industrial park. So a win for the city there on that side. The water and wastewater agreement, the biggest change really is just adjusting those capacities. So taking the water capacity reservation from 56 gallons, or 56,000, 560,000 gallons per day. Wow, I need to put on my glasses. I was
Pick
like,
a
why
number.
can't I see?
Just pick a number.
I know I have notes in front of me, and I was like, what's going on? Right?
Thank you.
And then taking the wastewater down from 250,000 down to 25,000 gallons. So huge savings there. There's other little minor edits just to clean things up, but beyond that, it's really the substantial pieces. I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have Deb Nelson from Brisbee here if you have any questions on the legal side on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask Morgan about the water. So the water, it's industrial grade water, right? Basically, it's going to be staying within that urban renewal district. It can't be tied in with the rest of the potable water in housing and stuff like that, right?
So, Mayor, Councilman Biggs, the system out there is designed just for that industrial area. They now, with that reduced water capacity, there actually isn't any industrial process water. The only water flows that will be handled are the domestic flows, so like the regular bathroom, kitchen type water that you would see coming out of any other commercial project. This project doesn't have any industrial wastewater because that closed loop system. That's where the major reduction in capacity comes from.
And so the additional industry that's going to come out there, they can still
Yes.
use this? Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Anything, Chris?
No, thank you. I was just reading it.
Cutting things down.
A lot.
Yep. More than half, right? It's more than half from the original.
Oh,
It's, yes, so it's 10% while maintaining our, maintaining the capacity. So as far as from the city's perspective, it's making it a lot more flexible, much quicker, which is especially a boon considering we lost that revenue on the urban renewal side. This actually ended up being incredibly helpful to allow us to keep moving forward.
And not being evaporative also helps quite a bit too, because that's a lot of water lost. That's where I had the problem with the water going back and,
Yeah.
resupplying the aquifer. If it evaporates, how does that, we wait for the rain or something to soak into the. When we talked to Meta, I was like, how does that work? I'm not exactly, science major, but.
Okay, I would move we approve resolution R 71-2023.
Second.
motion's made for approval on resolution R 71-2023. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you, Morgan, for all your work on it.
And then you kind of also covered our resolution R 73-2023, correct? Did you have any further questions on that one? They kind of tie together there.
Do we need another motion?
Yeah. I would move we approve resolution R 73-2023.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consideration to approve resolution R 78, 2023. Chris Ingles.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris Ingalls, City Clerk for the record. What I have before you is surplus, and so the surplus came from the Fleet Department and out at Public Works. There's a detailed list and photos for your review. These will be done in a sealed bid, so we will publish it and post it. We are talking to the Fleet Department about being able to make a time for people to actually come and look at the items that they may want to purchase. Then they will submit the bid. The minimum bid was established by the Fleet Department and Public Works based on the value of taking it in for, junk trade or metal trade on the vehicles. And then as far as the sewer department, blowers are expensive, I guess, and so they've established what those costs are. I would stand for any questions.
Okay, questions?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Nope. I would move we approve Resolution R 78-2023.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Consideration to approve resolution R 79, 2023. Chris Ingles again.
Mayor, Council, Chris Ingles for City Clerk for the record. What is before you is an agreement with Prusik. Prusik is also the ones that built the Kuna Police Department. This is for concept, in as much to tell us what can be done or what can't be done to gather up all the stakeholders, what the potential cost may be. We didn't do that per se when we did the police department, and over that process we found that it may have been easier to be at the table with a qualified general contractor before we went to any kind of design, so that we had a better idea of what it may or may cost to be able to talk with council about that budget. And I would stand for any questions.
Okay, questions?
DMV.
DMV.
Getting serious now. I would move we approve Resolution R 79-2023.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve resolution R 79, 2023. Any further discussion?
I think it'd be nice to have a DMV, or at least hear what it's going to take to put one here.
Yeah. Well, we've had quite a few discussions, and we've gained quite a bit of traction, so.
Awesome.
Can we get a hot tub in the council chamber?
Yeah, in the DMV.
That goes back to that other ordinance you were talking about, that fee.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I now can't unsee.
All right. Any real further discussion?
No.
All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. That leaves the last item on the agenda, an executive session. And,
Who do we need?
Do we know who we need?
So the motion,
who do we need?
we'll need, I guess, Nancy and,
Mark.
Mark.
That guy?
He does, yeah.
Nancy and Mark.
Okay. I would move we adjourn to executive session under Idaho Code 74-206-1 and B, and include the council, mayor, and human resources director, and the city attorney.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Chris, would you poll the council?
Councilmember Bruce.
Aye.
Councilmember Biggs.
Aye.
Council President McPherson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.